A big-time SEC showdown this Saturday in Nashville. A top 15 game with Missouri and Vandy facing off. The Commodores shocking a lot of folks this season. Their preseason win total prediction was 5.5. They're trying to get to 7-1 for the first time since 1941. On the other side, you look at a Mizzou team that gets it done on both sides of the ball. They are one of 3 teams ranked in the top 10 in the FBS in both total offense and defense this year. Vandy, a high-ranking Mizzou, has lost 4 straight games against AP-ranked teams. So which one will give this Saturday at 3:30? To help us dive even further into this conversation, we now bring in Gabe DeArmond, who covers Missouri for 24/7 Sports, and Chris Lee, also with 24/7 and covering Vandy. I love that we are having this talk right now. 2 6-1 programs, Mizzou 15th in the country, Vandy at 10. But as we sit here right now, week 9 of the season, Gabe, I ask you this first. Is it too early to call this a college football playoff eliminator game?
I think it's too early because both teams have schedules left that they can still get to 10-2. Now, and I think it's tough. I think Vandy's path to 10-2 might be a little bit easier with the loss than Missouri's would be, but there's so much season left, and every week, we decide we know what's going to happen, and then somebody loses and messes the whole thing up. I don't think it's an eliminator, but I do think the team that wins this game, I think it's very fair to say, has an inside track to one of those spots.
Yeah, I think the way Gabe put it is about the way that I would put it too. I think probably the path is a little bit easier for Vanderbilt going forward. It's already got a win under its belt against LSU that I think is going to carry some weight. And I think the schedule forward maybe is a little bit more navigable for Vanderbilt than it is for Missouri. But, I mean, like Gabe just said, you never know what is happening any given week. I think injuries could play in with some future opponents. I think, like, for instance, Tennessee at the end of the schedule. Is Tennessee still a playoff caliber team once it gets through some games? I don't know. You just, it's hard enough to know what's going to happen week to week without projecting ahead. But I do feel like Vanderbilt is the team that could probably afford to take the loss a little bit more than maybe Missouri. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, the schedule in the SEC making things always difficult for teams. Vandy about to play their 3rd straight ranked matchup. And I want to show this again just of what is at stake, because we asked that question of, okay, if you lose, are you eliminated? And according to the analytics via Inside the Lines, you're not eliminated on either side with the loss, but Vandy, their current standing at 26%, dips down to 14% with the loss. For Mizzou, it goes from 32% to 11%, and you see a win for Missouri will certainly mean a whole lot, bump them up to a 47% chance to make the playoffs, but still a whole lot of football left to be played, and the football we played with Diego Pavia remaining a big factor of it all, and he hit the Heisman pose recently after a score. He's seemed like he's captivated all of college football fans, even Johnny Manziel, rooting for Vandy instead of Texas A&M. I saw folks on social media being mad about that there's no love for Marcel Reed, but there's a love for Diego Pavia. 19 total touchdowns, which is tied for 3rd in the SEC. Chris, I ask you, should he be in the Heisman talk?
I think so. I think the thing that might hurt him is he went head-to-head against Alabama and lost that one to Ty Simpson, who was better in that game. And so there's that. I think if Ty Simpson remains in the conversation, that head-to-head is going to be very difficult to get by. But also, if you are watching football, it's not just the numbers he's putting up, it's the plays he's making. They're just hard to quantify how good he is. The 4th down play last week where he juked Pyburn one way and then the other way and then threw a pass across his body to complete a 4th down play. The going down at the 1 instead of scoring to basically allow Vanderbilt to take a knee and get through the games. I think if you're watching this kid play, in addition to the stats, I think that helps his chances. But I do think if it comes down to a head-to-head with Alabama and Ty Simpson, that's the place to get him. Otherwise, I think he's got a shot if they can continue to win.
Yeah, look, I've got to vote. I told friends earlier this week, like, if I was voting tomorrow, I would vote Diego Pavia to win the thing. I think he means more to his team than I think any player in college football. And Vandy's got a lot of guys, but without him, this whole thing doesn't work. And I'm interested to see how Missouri defends him exactly. LSU got so far out of rush lanes, and that is just death against Pavia. Eli Drinkwitz said on Tuesday, look, we faced Lenora Sellers, we faced Jalen Daniels. Those guys are really good dual threat quarterbacks. But Pavia is the best when things break down, when things get off schedule. Drinkwitz called him a magician, and I mean, he's almost better once the play kind of goes haywire. So I think Missouri's best attribute is its pass rush with Damon Wilson and Zion Young, but they've got to find a way to pressure Pavia without letting him out of the pocket. And then I'm not sure who they'll have spy him. They've got some athletic linebackers. Maybe Dalen Carnell is kind of that safety linebacker hybrid. I don't know who they'll use in that role, but I think he's the one guy in college football that you have to have a spy on him every single play of the game. I don't really care if it's, 1st and 10 or 3rd and 25. If you're not spying Diego Pavia and rushing, staying in your lanes and being disciplined, you're going to be in big trouble.
I think for the Heisman talk, it becomes key, like you said, Gabe. Do you view the Heisman as the best player, or do you view it as a MVP? But one note to certainly make about Mizzou going up against Diego Pavia is that Diego Pavia has never been able to beat Mizzou. Lost against them when he was with New Mexico State and lost last year at Mizzou on the road. Looking at the Tigers offense, though, you squarely have to look at Ahmad Hardy because he's been great for Mizzou, top 3 in the FBS in rush yards and touchdowns. But he's had back-to-back games with under 60 rushing yards for the first time in a long time for him. So, Gabe, what version of Ahmad do you think shows up and needs to show up?
Well, I think the more important thing is what version of his offensive line shows up, because I don't think he's changed as a runner. I don't think he's worse than he was the first few weeks. I mean, we knew the numbers would go down a little bit. Alabama and Auburn are not the teams Missouri played in the first 5 weeks, and teams more and more are selling out and saying, look, 29 is not going to beat us. But Ahmad Hardy had nowhere to go last week against Auburn. It really from the start, I mean, they were just swarming him and hitting him at the line of scrimmage, behind the line of scrimmage. He had a 3-yard touchdown run in that game, the one that actually tied the game at 17, where, I mean, he sidestepped a tackler 3 yards deep in the backfield, then bounced it outside, then broke a tackle and still had to stretch to just get a 3-yard gain. And I think we're focused on Hardy, and a lot of people are saying, well, is he not as good? I really don't think it's him. The guys up front haven't been as good. And I know Vandy's run defense is good. I'm not sure they've been tested quite like this, and I don't think they have just maybe the athletic freaks on the line that Alabama and Auburn have been able to throw at Missouri.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The defensive line is better, but I think the last 2 fronts that Missouri played have got more raw talent, especially NFL-type talent than Vanderbilt's got. So I think line of scrimmage will be a thing, but once he gets past the line of scrimmage, it's making tackles. Vanderbilt's had issues at times with open field tackling. It gave up an explosive run to Caden Durham, I think, last week against LSU. It gave one up at the end of the game, although that was a little different. It was a run-down-the-clock situation to Alabama, too. So I think it's going to be, once he gets in your secondary, how good are you at bringing him down, which has been an issue for a whole lot of teams this year.
It's going to be fun. 3:30 Saturday, and now that we've said a little bit of the sides of both of it, I have to ask the most important question, and that is who wins this game. Chris, we'll go to you first.
I like Vanderbilt in probably a 1-score game. I think there's some things that stick out. I think it's Pavia's ability to make a play. I trust a little bit more in this game than his counterpart. I think offensive line is a big thing. Vanderbilt's just kind of been mauling people in the trenches. I think that's going to carry a lot of weight here. And I think special teams in the kicking game. Vanderbilt's Brock Taylor, I don't think has missed a field goal in like a year now. No, they don't count on him for many, but he's accurate and he can hit from distance. I think that's been an issue for Missouri since the opening game where they lost their starting kicker. So I do think there's some things that can give Vanderbilt problems, most notably Hardy and that defensive front. But I think there's some things I can point to for Vanderbilt that make me like them just a little bit more in this one.
Yeah, I'm with Chris. This is going to be a fourth quarter game. If it comes down to a kick, I like Vanderbilt's chances way more than Missouri's chances. But Saturday night, I was ready to pick Vandy in this one. Sunday morning, probably would have picked Vandy. I am right now leaning toward Missouri, and it's really for reasons that have very little to do with football. This is the third time in a month Vandy is playing its biggest game in 75 years. Every time I look up at my television, Vanderbilt is on it. They're doing another interview. They're doing another thing. Eli Drinkwitz said on Tuesday, he was asked about, the stage and everybody that's going to be in Vanderbilt. And he said, doesn't affect us at all. We're the road team. I don't think anybody even wants to talk to us. So I think Eli Drinkwitz is going to lean into this, hey, nobody thinks you can win this game. And I'm interested to see how Vandy handles this level of spotlight for really a second or third week in a row. So Missouri has been in games like this a little bit more than Vanderbilt has recently. I think they get it done, but I'm not going to be at all shocked if Vanderbilt wins the game.
Yeah, it is Vandy's 11th game of ranked on ranked. Leading up to this, the previous 10 even split at 5-5. So we'll find out one way or another come Saturday evening. Fellas, thank you. Appreciate it so much, Gabe DeArmond and Chris Lee. We will look forward to seeing you along the way. College football page over on CBS Sports at YouTube is where you can get all the CBS Sports college football insight with segments like this with the crew from inside college football and all that knowledge that you want to get. Scan that QR code.